Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel of Ecoholics. So we are starting with a new series where we are going to discuss the economics optional paper for the year 2022. So let's just get into our discussion. This is about question number 1, part B. So this is your discuss the concept of liquidity trap in the liquidity preference model of interest. So this is a 10 marks question, and of course you have to follow the word limit. So please take good care of the word limit, that you do not waste your words while writing the vague things into your answer. So your answer should be consisting of the points which are important, which are answering what the question is asking. Many times the word limits get wasted by writing the introduction in a very lengthy way, or maybe more focused only towards the conclusion. So you have to be very careful that you give enough space to introduction and to conclusion, but your main content is something that it should also be taken care with very sensitivity. So while writing this answer, what all points you have to take care is, so now they're talking about the concept of liquidity trap. So I tell you few things which you have to take care here. The first is you have to take care of liquidity trap. The another is liquidity preference. And then the third is liquidity preference model of interest. So this question poses one confusion here. We all know about Keynesian in first law. If someone comes to us and asks that what is liquidity preference according to Keynesian model, we would answer it very easily. But when someone will come to you and ask you liquidity preference model of interest, you will think for maybe 1 minute or few seconds to before answering it. You will confirm in your mind that yes, liquidity preference model of interest is same like Keynesian, or it is the Keynesian model. So yes, you're not wrong. Liquidity preference model of interest is just another name for Keynesians. The wordings are written here, of course, to confuse the candidates. So here we have to talk about Keynesian model only. So while writing your answer, how are you going to start? As I'm telling you that introduction and conclusion are really important. So first, you will be talking about the definition of liquidity preference under Keynesian. So you have to talk about the definition of liquidity preference under Keynesian. So what's liquidity preference? Liquidity preference means the amount of money I'm demanding at my current income and my market interest rate. If my income or interest rate would change, there would be a change in liquidity preference, but at a point of time it tells me that how much money am I demanding at that ongoing situation in the market. That is liquidity preference. So talking about the next thing is that what is liquidity preference model of interest. So in Keynesian, the money affects interest rate, which affects the income of individuals. So money actually have an influence over the income. So liquidity preference model of interest rate is nothing. It just says that the liquidity preference of individuals, where on other hand the money supply is given to you, that will lead you to the equilibrium interest rate. We know that in Keynesian, whenever money demand is equal to money supply, I would get my equilibrium interest rate. So this equilibrium interest rate is derived from by equating the money demand equal to money supply, and money demand is something which is influenced by liquidity preference. So that's how you have to start your answer, by talking about liquidity preference, by what do we actually mean by this. Now in the next go, you will come to the topic of liquidity trap. So what is liquidity trap? Liquidity trap is a very extreme situation according to Keynesians. So in liquidity trap, what happens is that people are demanding so high. So the demand of people for money is really high. And why does this happen? This will happen if and only if R is too low. The rate of interest is too low, that it doesn't even incentivize people to go and put their money into some assets or into bank. So that is the situation of liquidity trap, that the rate of interest given by the market is too low to incentivize you to go and put your money into some assets or into the bank. So you, whatever money will be thrown at you in the sense supplied to you, that will be demanded by you in the cash form. So you want all of your wealth in the liquid assets. This is the situation of liquidity trap. So of course, you have to be very careful about your word limit. So we won't be crossing the word limit, of course. So here you can make a diagram also. Now liquidity preference, of course, is going to happen in the case where the money demand is very high. So when you make the money demand curve, you cannot make it like this. You make money demand horizontal for the whole range. You cannot, because it cannot be horizontal forever. It's going to be horizontal only for the while being. When your interest rate is low, you're demanding too much of the money demand. After that, your money demand will start falling as the interest rate is going to increase. So whenever you're going to draw the money demand curve for your liquidity trap model, take very good care that you have to draw it for the while, for a time period being taken into consideration, and you do not have to stretch it throughout the time. Right? So what do we have on the axis? Let me come back here. So here I have, let's say, money stock, and over here I have rate of interest. Now I'm telling you that money demand and rate of interest have a negative relationship. The higher is the interest rate, lesser would be my money demand. So it's going to be like this. So this range, this horizontal range where the money demand curve is horizontal, represents liquidity trap. So you draw this, and by writing all these answers, all these points in your answers, your word limit would be sufficient. You will reach your word limit and then end your answer by writing a proper conclusion. I hope this will help you in writing such answers. Thank you so much.